You are infinitely loved by an infinite God. Everyone you love is infinitely loved by an infinite God, way more than you could ever love them. And everyone you hate is infinitely loved by an infinite God, way more powerfully than you could ever hate them. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Love Your Unlovable podcast. I am your host, the wildly unlovable yet infinitely loved Eileen Chevalier. So this is from 2011. I wrote this, and the subtitle is, "Nah, I don't got a lot of money." That's a line from the proposal song that Mike sang to me. $90. That's how much more I needed to buy a plane ticket to DC. How was I so broke that I couldn't afford a plane ticket? For the past 3 years, I'd kept a careful budget, saved as much as possible, bought a car with cash, and moved myself into a fabulous apartment just a few blocks north of Columbia University so that I could join the New York City Teaching Fellows program. Not since undergrad had I asked anyone for money, and even then, I felt irresponsible. If only the liquor store, cleverly placed between the train and my dinner table, hadn't carried such captivating Rioja. If only I'd never discovered sushi. Or ordering up at the end of a long day. Or the vats of every imaginable olive at the Fairway Market. If only I hadn't gotten sick and lost so much. But then I wouldn't be here, regretting that I ate my savings, forced to swallow my pride and borrow money for a plane ticket to DC, so I could see a boy I met at a bar in Raleigh less than a month ago. Mike is picking me up from the airport, so I waste no time getting off the plane and out to the front of Reagan International. I'm wearing a black halter and my favorite skirt, one I bought years before at an Indian clothing store, wine-colored with beading in the front, flowing down to drag the dirty curb where cars are pulling in to pick up the recently arrived. I carry my small yellow vinyl carry-on and hope that this man I have seen only once, 4 weeks earlier, will recognize me in a sea of happy homecomings. But my smile outshines them all as he swings open the passenger door, inches from my eager hands. I climb in and he offers me a bouquet of flowers, freshly picked from the roadside, on his way to meet me, which, given the heat and lack of a vase, is a terrible idea. They are all shriveling and bent over, exhausted. An obvious contrast to our swelling excitement. Here we are, finally, close enough to smell one another, able to see the smiles that we have so often heard. Those 4 intervening weeks had been a blur of ever-extending phone calls. We found ourselves agreeing often, including an agreement that we would never date each other. I always hated dating. By the time I was allowed to start dating, I was ready to be married. Past ready, in fact. I think I was born ready. Commitment was the easy part for me. The hard part was dating. What I definitely did not want was a boyfriend. I'd had plenty already, which was helpful in a way. I knew what I couldn't take and what I couldn't live without. I knew my aversions to tall men, and that those not in search of God inevitably tire of my own pursuit. Then there was my undeniable attraction to creative, confident fellows who found life fascinating, especially the Irish ones. So along comes this pale-faced, redheaded, a perfect 4 inches taller than me, traveling around singing the soulful songs he'd written. Interesting. Then I find out we have a lot in common. Our backgrounds, our beliefs, our perspectives on life and life goals. 2 weeks later, we're talking every day for hours, finding out all the things we have in common. Of course we want to find that someone. Who doesn't want that, really? So we both start thinking that maybe this is it, and we decide to meet up in DC, where I'm traveling for a video shoot anyway. He grew up in Southern Maryland, so he drives down from Rhode Island as I fly up to meet him. There's just enough time for a museum visit before heading to his parents' house for dinner. lounging in the yard, and a quick tuck-in before bed. It's the tuck-in that does it for me. Mike is wearing a thin sleeping shirt, and I can just make out a beautiful tattoo on his left bicep. Having a special weakness for nice arms and beautiful tattoos. I asked to get a better look, and he explains when and why he got it. Then the clincher. He describes the tattoo he really wants. At the top of his back, there's another tattoo of an abstracted sun. Below this, as if basking in its light, he pictures a scientific-style drawing of a rose bush, with the largest 2 roses labeled as his wife and himself, and the smaller ones labeled as his children. Sold. It is clear to me that whatever we may have thought we were doing, we have actually spent a month putting one another on trial, allowing ourselves to be questioned as thoroughly as possible in an attempt to discover if we could love one another. We have been witness and judge. We have examined and cross-examined. All that is left for me is to know that my love will not be given in vain. To know that I am with someone whose commitment is as sure as mine. A gigantic tattoo seems like an excellent indication of this. How much did he already love his family to come up with such a beautiful way of expressing that love for them? How could I not want with all my heart to be the one named as his wife, to be the one who gets to make those little rosebuds with him? I am his for the having and the holding.